Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're working on this MTD riding mower. It's a bit of an older unit. It's going to be mid-90s. We can check that in a sec. It's got a Briggs & Stratton flathead in it. A little bit different. This one is 12 horsepower, but only 36 inches wide. Cutting deck. So that's different. Standard is typically 38, 42. Those are the more popular ones, but let's have a look under the hood. Good old Briggs & Stratton flathead. For those of you that don't know, since I think the early 60s, the first two digits of the code number on a Briggs gives you your year. Let's see if we can get in there on that. 1994. That's a bit of an older unit. It's got the Transmatic speeds. Popular, but I don't know. I don't like them. It's a cheaper way to get several speeds in a transaxle. Basically, the transaxle only does forward and reverse. All of your speeds, gears if you will, is controlled by an adjustable sheave pulley here, similar to how a skidoo operates, where one pulley will close and one pulley will open, and it changes how high the belt rides in relation to the spindle. Basically, it's a variable speed transmission, or constant velocity, CVT. There's a number of different names you can use for it, but anywho, it was common with the MTDs. If you've got any MTD that's got this style of shifter, forward and reverse, and a lever like this for speeds, it could be there, it could be down there. The forward reverse could be here, and the speeds over here. The speeds could be a much smaller lever up on the dash, but any of those designs are all basically the same thing. They use the variable pulley. It works, but it's not gears. So, pretty standard Briggs. Standard linkage. It does have a separate choke cable. It's just early. The Intex all had throttles like this, but the choke was integral to the throttle, so you would put the throttle lever all the way to full and then beyond, and the beyond area was your choke. Anyways, separate choke, throttle, missing ignition switch. That's alright, I got one in stock. I haven't really done much with this. I haven't looked it over too deep yet. I know the gas tank's got some crud in it. It's very low, and there's something in it. It could be water or gas, but it stinks, and there's some floaties in it, so we're gonna have to flush that out. Let's check our oil. Over full. Let's have a smell. Yep, that's old gas. We're gonna have to take care of that too. Being a flathead, I'm not gonna have to adjust the valves. As long as it runs fine, I'm not going to even bother taking the head or anything off on the front. I will change the spark plug though, because I'm going to tune it up. I'm going to check over the belts, blades, bearings, general tune-up. Likely have to take the carb off and ultrasonic clean it. 3 belts in this. There's an upper trans belt that goes from the sheave pulley to the transaxle. The one below that is your drive that goes from the sheave pulley to the engine. And the belt below that is the one that runs the deck, the 2 spindles on the deck to the crankshaft. 3 belts. We're going to check them all, replace as necessary. This is a resale machine, so we're going to have to make sure that it's in decent shape. Not overly bad. The deck's not rotted out. It's pretty solid. I think this machine has got a lot of years on it, but not many hours. So that's usually good for us. Tires hold air. That's awesome. Okay, we'll get you in the stand, get some tools gathered, get the hoist lifted up, and we'll dive in. Alright, so we got it up on the lift, and I've taken some penetrating oil and just lubed up the linkages down here on the carb and on the throttle plate assembly. Everything works nice and smooth now. Nice. That's fine. We're going to take all this cable off and everything anyways. Nice thing about not having overhead valves is we don't have to worry about working in the front of the engine, because the hood and everything is all bolted on rigid. It's not a quick a quick release hood like most of the newer tractors are. You just tip them to an angle and kind of unhook them and they just come right out of the way. Not the case with this one. That's all right. That's fine. Well, let's just take a look, see what we got here under our air filter. Oh, brand new. All right. Well, that's good. That's got to come off. This doesn't have to come off, but we can take this off and take the filter out of the way. Oh, it smells like old gas. I can smell it. Yep. Old gas. That's okay. Common smell around here. I'm just going to grab my flashlight. And now that the cowl is open here, I'm going to just check in there, see if there's any mouse nest on the top of the cooling fins. There is not. Oh, looks perfectly fine. It's actually spotless in there. Really nice. The only thing I've done to this is when I purchased it, I got this in a group. There was 3 mowers. There was an older Mastercraft, like Canadian Tire, older than this, probably 2 years old, 2 or 3 years older than this one. There was that one, there was this unit here, and another John Deere XTX 38, and a snowblower. I bought all that as a group, and this is just one of the items that was in that group buy. So I like it when I can get a deal like that, get a bunch of them together. Gives me options. I mean, MTDs are MTDs. I could use spare parts for just about everything. If tractors are like 10 years difference, a lot of the parts still work on them interchangeably. I'm just going to lubricate the plate here for the steering while I got the penetrating oil out. Might as well squirt her down, let it do some work. Steering does work nice and free anyways. We'll just grease the steering shaft. There's a bushing that goes at the bottom of the shaft and it goes through the chassis of the tractor. They wear out because they're plastic. I have aftermarket ones that I use in case those are worn right out, and the ones I use are brass. They last a lot longer. Symptom of that, if that bushing is worn out, is when you're steering, it'll start to skip. You'll get a snapping noise and it won't turn. Usually one way or the other, it'll wear out, but this one's fine. So we need, what do we need to get in there? 7/16 nuts, but the throttle plate's in the way. Got to take these 2 nuts off, and then I think there's one more under there. One more on the top here. One on the top, 2 nuts here, and then this will come out of the way. But in order to get that out of the way, we need to get the bracket out of the way. In order to get the bracket out of the way, we got to get the cable out of the way. One thing after another. First steps first. Let's get some sockets. That should be a 3/8. We'll grab a 5/16, 7/16. Grab the little driver gun. All right. 5/8. We might be able to sneak that bracket out. Take the 5/8 there. Sorry, 5/16, not 5/8. Those 2 little screws, and we unhook our choke cable. Well, at least we can get to this nut now, so we'll take those 2 off now. I'd rather not adjust this if I don't have to. Let's get you zoomed in a little bit better there, so you can actually see what we're looking at. Whoa, whoa, easy, whoa. Okay. So I took this bolt out, and the bracket's loose now. Now I can get to the 2 nuts that hold that air filter housing assembly. One there. One there. Notice there's no fuel shutoff in that fuel line. There will be. I do that on every mower. Gets a fuel shutoff. Because the reason that oil is over full and smells like gas is because that's where the gas from the tank went. It overcame the needle in the carburetor and filled the crankcase. Okay, air cleaner assembly's out of the way. There's a gasket here. It's a little swollen up, but I have replacements if I need it. Oh, it fit right back into place. Perfect. That gasket's important because if that gasket's leaking, it'll pull air in, bypassing the air filter. So it'll get basically dirty air in there. Now we can easily tilt this cable out of the way to get it out of the Z bend here, get it out of the carburetor. It's dirty. It's pretty dirty in there. The throttle shaft, I'm moving it by hand. It's gummy. The carb definitely needs to be cleaned out. This governor arm and everything should be moving freely, but it's really sticky. All right. A couple more tools. I need a deep, maybe. Do I need a deep socket? Yup. Swap this 5/16 out for a deep one. These two are threaded studs. There's a nut on the inside here. Before I do that, I'm going to release the governor spring. Where's my pliers? Needle nose pliers. Very, very, very small, dainty little spring. I don't want to be pulling on it or reefing on it hard, so. I'm going to take this opportunity to remind you guys that if you like what you see, don't be shy. You can smash that thumbs up button. I won't mind at all. According to my analytics, 97% of the views that I get on my videos are from non-subscribers. So it's free. You can click the subscribe button. It's free. Doesn't cost you a dime. You know what? I'm just going to thread those back in just finger tight while I get that fuel line off of there. That way it'll hold the carb for me. Fuel line is hardened up. I'm going to replace it all. Right from the tank to the carburetor. I'm going to replace it. So, using those pliers, get this little spring clamp out of the way. I don't want to break that little plastic piece off the carburetor, so I'm going to just cut that hose off. Like I said, I'm going to replace it anyways. Let me get some type of catching device here. There we go. Ew. That's gross. Very yellow. Doesn't even smell like gas anymore. Ew. Well, better out than in. We'll let that drip for a little bit. Now I can get these studs out. And at this point, it's a pull and a wiggle to get that released. Oh, that's on there good. Hammer time. Don't want to hit anything critical. Wow, that's on there. She's stuck. There we go. Whoa, that was really on there. So this hook hooks up, this hook hooks down. As long as you get this one released on this particular engine. Oh yeah, it's stuck in there. That's the governor arm. As long as you get that one released. Oh, almost. You don't have to worry about unhooking the other one because that's the choke, and it just, once the governor's out of the way, that just basically slides out of the throttle plate. That whole arm just slides right out. Goes in a little pocket back here. But we're going to take it off now because it's got to go into the ultrasonic cleaner. Well, here, we'll have a look at that. Okay, you focused? I think so. So that's the gasket that was so sticky. That's the other side. You can see it's varnished in there. Looks gross. Yeah, idle mixture screw, which is nice. It's an older machine. This doesn't even have a limiter cap on it. And it never did. This is an adjustable one. On the newer carburetors, you'll find them, it's got a screw here, but it's got a plastic cap on it that limits the amount that you can adjust it. And even if you pop that cap off carefully, because it'll break the screw, if you pop that off carefully, it's not a regular screw underneath there. It doesn't have a screwdriver slot in it. So we'll set that aside for now. We'll turn it upside down, get some more of that yellow apple juice out of there. Smells like smoked salmon and pickles. Okay. Not really, I'm just... We'll let that drain off on the bench a little bit. There's nothing I'm seeing that's, you know, outstandingly crazy on the engine. It's just, everything's there. It's just a matter of getting it cleaned out and running properly. So there's floaties in the tank. I have to take the tank right off. It's held on with zip ties, big ones. Get you backed out a little. Here we go. So these are just zip ties here, holding that on. I'll have to cut those and replace them. Yeah. I know a guy who will take a little pick and he grabs a little lock inside those zip ties. There you go. He reaches in and grabs that the little lock with the zip tie holds on, and he peels it back and he reuses zip ties. And yes, I tease him about it. So at this point, what I'll do is I'll reset on the bench. We'll get that carb torn apart and get it cooking in the ultrasonic cleaner. All right, so we got this carburetor monstrosity off of here. I got the bowl off, or the bowl bolt. It's just a bolt, not a jet on this one. Let's see if we can get that to crack loose. This is a Walboro carburetor. There are Nicky carburetors that look very similar to this. Trying to be gentle here, not wreck that bowl or the gasket, but I have new gaskets anyway, so. What surprises are in store? Oh my, look at the rust in that thing. That is gross. No wonder it smelled like that. Look. Yeah, that's gonna need cleaning. Yep. Okay, well, the bowl, I'm gonna have to scrape that with a screwdriver before it goes in the ultrasonic cleaner. Let's get that carb pin out, float pin out. Yoink. That's the gross stuff that came out of it. Okay. Needle out. That's going in the ultrasonic. Everything is. I don't hear anything in the float. Nope. That'll go in the ultrasonic cleaner. Oh, that's gross. Look, where the fuel goes up. Completely plugged. Flat. Flat. Completely plugged. I I gotta get something to pick that out. A little 90-degree pick. Solid block of rust. Man, that's bad. Yep, that's the worst one I've had. Definitely. Just trying to clear the threads because I got to pull a jet out of there. I don't want those plugged up threads to damage it. The carburetor has an aluminum body and it's got a brass jet, so everything's very soft. I don't want to wreck anything. I don't want to buy a new carburetor either. Well, it looks not bad. At least I can see where the screwdriver goes now. We're going to hit her with some of my favorite stuff here. Deep creep. Well, that screwdriver's not going to do it. Where is my other one? Uh-oh. I gotta find my other screwdriver. This one I ground down the sides of so it'll fit in there. Hang on, I gotta find it. Alright, well I didn't find the actual screwdriver, so I just made another one. That's just a regular 1/4-inch screwdriver bit. I just have to relieve just a little bit off the sides, just so it doesn't booger the threads down inside here. And it was still tight, so I ended up using one of the little tiny micro torches carefully to just warm it up. Just warmed up here just a little bit. It wasn't even hot. I could still hold my finger on it. It was just warm. All you want to do is just expand that aluminum just a little bit so it just eases the tension on the threads. Anyways, this comes right out. That is your emulsion tube as well. Newer carbs, you'll find that this bottom section here is your jet, and then above that is a separate emulsion tube which is pressed up inside the body of the carb. But this one is all one piece and it's plugged up solid, so all these little holes are plugged up. Your main, yep, main's plugged solid, so that's all going to go in the ultrasonic cleaner. But I'm going to shove wires through first excuse me, to make sure that the passages are clear before I start heaving stuff in there. So it is a rubber seat. It's all varnished, which means it's just a brass, rubber tip needle, which means it's a brass seat. So after it gets out of the ultrasonic cleaner, we're going to run a Q-tip with a little bit of valve lapping compound on it. Just tight. Actually, I'll use metal polish because it's even finer. Just turtle wax chrome and metal polish, just a little tiny bit on the Q-tip, and you put it in a drill and you just spin it on the seat until it comes out like brand new. That's actually a really, really good way to do that. So you can see everything's gummy here. That's spring loaded and it should just snap open real freely. This is real stiff. So that might need actually more than 15 minutes in the ultrasonic cleaner. No worries. We'll let it run as long as it takes. We're going to get this idle mixture out. So what we want to do is we want to see where it was, because we're assuming, and it's a good idea to assume this, but we're assuming when this thing was parked, it was running. So we want to check what it's currently set at. So we'll start here and we'll count the turns to lightly seat it. There's a half, 1 1/4. So 1 1/4 turns will lightly seat that. So when we take it out of the ultrasonic cleaner, we can just run it in till it lightly seats, take it out 1 1/4, and that's where it was set when we originally started. You want to take these out if you can, that way the solution can go through and clean passages out as it goes. So there's that one. There is a pilot jet on the top here. Newer carburetors. It's a slightly different arrangement here for the throttle or the idle screw. Usually it's got a big plastic shield on it. Looks like a big shield, and it actually holds in a little plastic pilot jet. But this one is brass. Older machine, it's a 94. The engine is. This should just be a fixed orifice as well. And we're going to shove a tiny little needle through it. Yeah. So you can see the hole. Let's see if we can get a might be able to see that hole right there in the tip. And that's good that you can see that, but the hole we need to be concerned with is the little microscopic one directly in the end of this thing. I'll use a tiny little wire to push into that. Actually, I think this wire is too big. That's also so filled out with varnish that it's not going in anyways. Oh, no, it just dropped in. So that was absolutely plugged, and that would have given us a real bad surge. The ultrasonic cleaner is great, but it's not perfect. You still need to run wires through and inspect and blow air and carb cleaner through just to make sure that anything that the ultrasonic cleaner did break up gets flushed out. So I can see the wire as I push it in there. I can see the wire in the two big holes I showed you earlier. So that's clear. We're still going to go through it and blow all that out after, but at this point it's clear. Let's shove our wire through these holes in the emulsion tube. I can see through that one. I'm pushing junk out as I thread these through there. I can see visually through them, so that's our main. That was all gum. Like green Play-Doh in there. Grody. But anyways, passages are clear enough with a wire, so they can go in the ultrasonic cleaner. They'll be just fine. Pilot jet's out. Idle mixture screws out. We don't need to mess with the idle. It is now ready for its bath. I'm going to get my little T-ball tea infuser thing, put all my small parts in it, and dunker. Make sure you get the bolt in there as well. It's dirty. So, any YouTube videos I've seen where the guys are cleaning their carbs in ultrasonic cleaner, they normally they take the float and they throw it on top. Well, it works. It gets the bottom of it clean. But what I try to do is I try and set the carburetor in there in a position where I can hook the float on something on the carburetor, and it submerges it, holds it under the solution, so it doesn't tend to float to the top and get half cleaned. I like fully clean. Alright, we'll turn the camera back on when it's out of its bath. Alright, here we go. Out of the bath. Isn't that pretty? I actually sat in there for quite a while. This is the next day, and you could tell it's actually got some copper colored transfer to some of the parts, but it used to look brass. Now it looks copper. It's fine. It's not going to hurt it. Just discolored it. Don't care. It'll work just fine. So let's get this beast together. I've already blown it all out with compressed air, made sure all the bowl vent and everything was clear. So let's just drop everything together and put it back on the tractor. We got our main jet / emulsion tube fired in there. I bet you this thing will fire right up. That's in. Not sure if you're going to be able to see down in there, but I got to clean that seat because I don't want any issues. We'll get our tiny wire again and make sure that this pilot is clear. Yep. There's no crud on it either, so that's good. They just seat. You just torque them down. Idle mixtures. So we're going to lightly seat this again. And we're going to turn it out our 1 1/4 that it was out. very careful when you run these down. You don't want to get them too tight, they'll damage the seats. There's a half, there's a 1, and a 1/4. That's good. Okay, so let me gather up the stuff I need to do the seat because I forgot. Okay, got the stuff. This is what I use. It's an old can, it's pretty yellowed by now, but it's chrome and metal polish. And then you just take a Q-tip and cut it in half. One end in the drill. Just a little bit of this stuff on there, just a tiny bit. Let me see, I'm going to try and get you a before and after. That's too bright. You can kind of see it, it's dirty down in there. So, we're just going to run that in there and give her a spin. Ew. Dirty. I'll just take the one that didn't have stuff on it. Let's wipe most of that out. There's just a tad in there, so this is really good stuff, this polish. I use it a lot on my Harley. Do have to make sure you get all the little fibers out because you don't want, like, one little fiber will hang that needle open. Let's see if we can see the difference. Oh yeah, for sure. See how shiny that is? That's perfect. That's going to do wonders. Exactly what we want. A quick tip there. Okay, let's finish putting it together. After the float came out of the ultrasonic, you give it a shake to make sure there's no fluid in it. And it's still good. Nothing in there. Got our float in there. Got our pin in there. Quick test. This position I should not be able to blow air through, but then I lift this up and it should flow. Perfect. It's good. Pull new bowl gaskets on there. There we go. Dunzo. That turns nice. Perfect now. Just put a little bit of lube down on that. On that throttle shaft there. Ooh, that's a lot. It's not going to hurt it, but it's even better. Perfect. Okay, now we're going to turn the camera around and put the beast on there. Then we'll pull the gas tank out, change the fuel line, put a new filter and a valve in it, and then we're going to see if it starts. Yeah, I think that's where we're at. Stand by. Okay, we've got the carb back on there. That's just reverse of removal. So I just put all the stuff back on that I took off. You guys already saw that. That's all set. Choke and everything works fine. Throttle and everything is good. These throttles do not directly affect the carburetor. They adjust the tension on the governor arm, which directly affects the throttle plate. So that's how that works. But it's working fine. It's nice and free, the way it should be. I did actually manage to use my little pick, and I released the tooth in this zip tie to get the fuel tank out. Well, both zip ties. Oh, that's gross in there. See if we can get a shot of that. See the floaties in there? So we're gonna smash some brake clean in there. Give her a little shake. Hopefully that'll break up the floaties in there. flakies. Like, we are putting a filter on it anyway, so it's not really going to hurt anything, but I'd rather not have that stuff in there. Yeah, most of them are wiggling around now. The other thing you can do is you can drop some nuts in there. Let them roll around and loosen up that stuff, which I might do. A couple of little spots there that aren't quite coming clean yet. I'll try again a little more. It should work. Oh yeah, it's freeing up now. Just a little tiny bit in the corner there. It's not really going to be an issue. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Let me show you. I'll pour it into this white coffee cup here. I'll show you what the brake clean looks like. Maybe. There you go. Well, better out than in. So now I'm just going to take my blowgun. I'm not going to pressurize the tank. I'm just going to blow air in, and that should dry up all the brake clean. There we go. Tank's in. The factory zip ties are back on there. Now we just got to put some fuel line on it. And that should be set. So, get our line on the bottom. I suppose I could have done that when it was out, but whatever. Get our little spring clamp situated. There we go, spring clamp's on. So we need room for a filter and a shutoff valve. Go to the stock wall here. Valve. Filter. I like these. You can see through them, and it's actually a filter, not a screen. The little red thing you saw in there before has got basically just a screen in it. It'll keep squirrels and gravel out, but doesn't keep small particles out. So we got to get these in line there. Put our fuel tap way back here, so you can reach down when you're sitting on the tractor, because the hood is open here underneath. You can reach down and operate the fuel valve. There is a flow on these, usually an arrow. There's my arrow. That goes in the direction of the fuel travel, so the arrow will point to the carburetor. Get on there! There we go. I need a little more line on the end of this. A little short piece. Put our filter here. Or so. They will filter either direction, either way. If you put it this way, any contaminants, excuse me, any contaminants will go in the inside of the filter and you won't see them. If you put it that way, you can see the condition of the filter, because the fuel goes to the outside, goes through the filter, and then goes out that way. They will technically function either way. I'll get this up on there. And what do you think? How much? Yeah, I think we'll cut it right there. I'm gonna get me some hose cutting pliers instead of side cutters. Hose cutters got a razor blade in them. Kind of a 2-finger on the bottom and a razor blade in the top, and the razor blade just goes, cuts it nice without collapsing the hose. There we go. On. Off. No, on, off. There we go. Beautiful. The entire fuel system has been refurbished. Okay, air filter goes in. They'll run without it for sure, but if you're trying to tune a carburetor, you want your air filter in it. You want a clean one, but you want your air filter in it. Some engines and some carburetors, the restriction of flow of the air filter, even a clean one, is enough to change the jetting requirements at an idle. So if you're going to be setting idle mixtures, make sure you got your air filter, whole air cleaner assembly on. Done. Done. Nice. Fuel cap. At this point, well, it doesn't have battery in it. It's got a kooky 12 series battery. It's like a little motorcycle battery. It's not even a garden tractor battery. And I don't have one. And the one that was in it is junk. I'm not sure what we're going to end up doing with that. But at this point, I could run a booster pack and get it fired up. Let's just get you out of the stand there. We'll take a quick walk. Okay, hold on. It's going to be bumpy. Hang on. Hold on. Oh, we got power cord. We got zoom out. Power cord out. Okay, we're mobile. Okay, so that's the fuel system done. Tires are still holding there. Over here to this side, there's our lighting, which is disconnected for some reason. Okay. There's that bushing right there I was telling you about before, that plastic bushing that does the steering. It's not super tight, but it's not flopping around, so that's still in decent enough shape to be left in service. And oh no, oh, that's no good. Well, poo. It turns, it's not seized, but that gear, she's no good. I hope I have a spare. Looks like somebody's been working on it because there's actually a cover missing here. There's supposed to be a cover over the starter. Somebody's been monkeying with it. Okay. Well, we're going to move on anyways. I've already taken the belt off the engine. It's not terrible, but once I get it all the way out, excuse me, I'll be able to see the condition of the whole belt. Nah, you know what? We're just going to put a new one on it. The blades have seen better days. Oh, you can't see crap. It's dark. This camera doesn't have a light on it. The belt is The blades are junk. The bearings, reach underneath there. The belt is dragging, so you're hearing that, but that growling noise, bearings, she's no good. Both bearings, there's two bearings in those spindles. This side here, it's actually notchy. When I'm turning it, I can feel it notchy in my hand, and the blade is finished, so definitely needs blades and bearings and a belt. I'm definitely going to go under and lubricate all your pivot points here, the deck pivots and the lift brackets and everything, but I'm probably not going to take it out. Oh, here's an interesting little thing. When you shut these blades off, it lifts the deck and moves it forward. It loosens the tension on the belt. To engage the blades, you just lower the deck, and as it lowers, it moves backwards. First moves backwards, engages the blades, and then goes straight down for your height. But when you lift it all the way up and it moves forward, this is your blade brake. There's a little brake pad material here, one on each side, and it just sits on top of this pulley. This top of the pulley is a separate piece. It's a little, like a washer. It's a disc that sits on top of the pulley underneath. But yeah, that's your blade brake right there. All right, well, I guess I better go out to the shed and see if I have a starter for this thing. Well, would you look at that? I had a starter. Not the cleanest starter I've seen, but I had one. Let's do a spin test on it. Got the ground hooked up to the case, positive hooked up to the positive terminal. Put a foot on it. Ground. Watch. She works just fine. Sounds good. We're gonna use it. Gear's in decent shape. It'll work. So I'm gonna bolt that on. 2 bolts here. Well, I'm not gonna record it. 2 bolts here. Change the wire over. Slam this one in, and we'll put some gas in it and see if she blows smoke. Literally. Well, you see, things have progressed, or what's the opposite of progressed? They got in the toilet. Anyways, I got the starter bolted on there, and I went to get my ignition switch put in, and I have 2 different ones, and neither one worked. As soon as I plugged it in, it would crank, and it was just a nightmare. So I took the fenders off to get in there at the wiring. You can get to it from the little battery hole, but not enough. And we got to get it in there anyways to get that belt. That belt's no good. So, anyways, fenders are off. That was easy. Bunch of bolts under the seat. 2 bolts on each running board. And I got it, I believe, sorted-ish. I thought at first I had safety switch issues, so I bypassed what I needed to bypass just to make it for testing. They're going to get hooked up again. This is the switch I've got in there working now. This green wire terminal is burned off inside this connector. I'm going to have to replace the terminal because that's the main power feed to the switch. But it's working at this moment. It turns out, I guess, I don't know. So far, what I figured out was the yellow wires and the orange wires have reversed positions somehow. I really don't know. At this point, I got it where it'll crank now with the key. So before, I would just turn it to the on position, like not in crank. I would just turn it to the on position and the engine would crank over. So it's not doing that anymore. But we have another issue. We got no sparky. This is the kill wire. Even if I disconnect this, it should spark, but it ain't. So I think we got a bad coil. Could be the way the wiring was before it burned out a coil. Could be feeding power up here. Not supposed to. Anyways, we got to pull the top cover off. So I thought earlier we weren't going to have to, but now we're going to have to just to see what's going on with that coil. Yeah, I didn't catch any of that on the camera because it's basically it requires all my concentration. So just wanted to catch you guys up with where we're at so far. I guess now we'll pull the cover off the engine and see what's going on in there. But that's what's going on in there. That belt's no good. These crazy adjustable variable sheave pulley systems. You got to go OEM belt on them because even though it's a 5/8 by 48 belt, if you put just a standard run-of-the-mill 5/8 by 48 belt on there, it doesn't work right. It's actually too long. So anyways, that's where we're at. I'm going to get you guys back in the stand, take the top cover off that engine, and see what kind of disaster we got going on in there.